Well, I mean, Netanyahu has always been the weak link in well, I guess what we're calling the peace plan, the Trump peace plan. You know, the Israelis aren't serious about peace. They don't want peace. They wanted their hostages back. Um, and that was clear. Ben Gvir, I guess the Minister of Interior, said now that we got them back, let's go in and finish the job. So they were never serious about this. The total package. And so now the question is Trump serious about this? This is the true test for Donald Trump. Is he going to hold Netanyahu accountable for what is going to be a blatant violation of this ceasefire, or is he just going to acknowledge that this was all a game, and that there was never going to be peace? We'll find out. J.D. Vance, the vice president, seems to believe that this is a blip that can be overcome. Explain that to the mothers of the dead Palestinian children, who've already, died because of Netanyahu's actions. This is, peace with Israel is a mission impossible. They don't want peace. They don't want a Palestinian state. They don't want peaceful coexistence. Netanyahu can't have peace because if there is peace, then he will quickly find that his coalition is not sustainable and that he will be pushed out of office and arrested and put in jail for corruption. So he needs war, the forever war. And again, it comes down to American leadership. What is the United States going to do? And the fact that Donald Trump has surrounded himself with probably the most pro-Zionist cabinet imaginable, I can't see, the United States putting significant pressure on Netanyahu.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed too, we haven't seen any evidence, any proof that Hamas has violated the ceasefire, right? But we do know that it appears to be gangs now in Gaza, which from what I understand are basically pro-Israel gangs. Some of them may have a part of ISIS faction there as well. I feel like Israel brought them in to cause this disruptance in Gaza so that they have an excuse to go back in and attack again.
It's the Israeli plan. I don't know about the excuse to go back and attack again, but Israel wants Hamas finished. Israel's demands have been from the very beginning that Hamas not only disarm but disband, and that the members of Hamas aren't even supposed to be allowed to stay in Gaza. Later, that was softened that they could accept some sort of amnesty that would allow them to live, but never be a part of the government. The Shin Bet, Israel's security services, has for some time now been trying to recruit Palestinians sympathetic to the Israeli cause from within the ranks of the Gazan Palestinians. They target specific families that have economic relationships with Israel. If you remember, before October 7th, 2023, the Israelis had made a big deal about opening up the gates and letting more Palestinians out of Gaza to gain employment in Israel, to generate income. And Israel doesn't do anything to be nice. Everything Israel does has a security aspect to it. And this was a vehicle to recruit Palestinians, to identify Palestinians sympathetic to the Israeli cause, to use money as a lure. And Israel has, even during this difficult fighting that was taking place in Gaza recently, Israel has recruited families to rise up. And you've seen reports about this in the Western media. These brave Palestinians have said no more to Hamas, as if they woke up with a moral compass. What actually happened is Israel bought them off. And so when the ceasefire happened, Hamas went out and started eliminating these traitors to the Palestinian cause. And the Israelis can't have that. The United States, first Donald Trump, I guess, didn't understand what was going on because when he was confronted by this, he said, no, I think I've allowed Hamas to keep their weapons because they need a police force. And there's some bad people out there that need to be taken care of. But then the Israelis came and said, hey, you're you're off script, Donnie. Those bad people you're talking about are our people, and we need them to get rid of Hamas. We need Hamas to be disarmed so these people can come in and kill them all. And so Hamas has been fighting these pro-Israeli elements inside Gaza, and this is what has angered Netanyahu and the Israelis, and has prompted the action we're seeing now.
This is just it's crazy to think that, number one, has been going on as long as it has, but then also this idea of this real estate venture that Jared Kushner and Elon Musk and Donald Trump and they all want to accomplish there along that Gaza Strip. It just, to me, it's so obvious that that is something that was planned before October 7th. That real estate venture that Jared Kushner wants to do. So I guess all what I'm trying to say is, like, they've been planning to take the land. So like, think about it this way. Let's say Donald Trump didn't become president in 2024. Does that stop the business deal that he had with Elon and all of them in Gaza?
No, no. Look, the Netanyahu government has made it clear that there will not be a Palestinian state, and a Gaza that is under the control of the Palestinians creates the most viable pathway to a Palestinian state. And so the goal has always been for the Israeli hardliners to take over Gaza, to eliminate Hamas. And there's been talk about bringing back the settlements. I forget what was the year 2005 when the Israelis, under pressure from the United States, dismantled the Gaza settlements. And since that time, the hardliners have said, no, we have to get those settlements back. And so, they've been talking about getting the settlements back. And as soon as you get the settlement, it's like the camel's nose under the tent. The second you let the camel's nose under the tent, if you let it stay, the whole camel's coming in the tent. In Israeli settlements in Gaza, is the same thing. It just means that you're creating a pathway for Israel to take over Gaza as part of historic Judea, I guess, part of the greater Israel. So this has always been a plan, and Jared Kushner has always been a schemer in this way. I mean, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. I don't really want to meet him. But what a despicable human being. I mean, I'm just being frank and honest here. What a despicable human being who puts money before everything else. He's not smart. I mean, he's not stupid, but he's not this genius, this geopolitical genius. He's a spoiled boy who has been given everything to him, who probably has committed massive economic crimes. I mean, his relationship with the Saudis should be investigated. It won't be, because Trump now has this iron grip on the Department of Justice and the FBI. But political genius, he's a spoiled boy who has been given everything to him, who probably has committed massive economic crimes. I mean, his relationship with the Saudis should be investigated. It won't be, because Trump now has this iron grip on the Department of Justice and the FBI. But the fact that Jared Kushner got these sweetheart deals with the Saudis, where he did nothing but received hundreds of millions of dollars in profits, should be investigated, but it won't be investigated. Now he's sitting here cutting deals with the Israelis to, transform Gaza into prime real estate, which I would imagine Jared Kushner's various companies would profit greatly from. What a despicable, disgusting human being.
That brings me to Russia and Ukraine, because it's so much that's happening. It's not just Israel and Gaza; it's Russia and Ukraine. We'll get to Venezuela later, but the situation with Russia and Ukraine. It seems that there's no end in sight here. And then
Oh,
when
there's
you put
an
all
there's an end. There's an end. Russia's winning. I don't know why people don't understand this.
This Diwali,
And there's nothing anybody can do to stop them. And Putin finally, the Russians finally called Trump out on it, because normally it's Trump saying, Vladimir Putin's not doing what I want him to do. We can't have a meeting with the Russians until the Russians are willing to accept the term. And the Russians finally came back and said, no, Donnie, we can't have a meeting with you until you're ready to accept our reality, because our reality is the only one that counts. Vladimir Putin gave a press conference. Kupiansk, 5,000 Ukrainians surrounded. Pokrovsk, 5,500 Ukrainians surrounded. The report, there's 5 more cauldrons building up, where anywhere from 1,000 to another, several thousand. There's equivalent of the potential of 50,000 Ukrainian soldiers being surrounded by the Russians in the coming months. This battlefield is evolving in ways that the Russians have been building up for. This is what collapse looks like. The Ukrainians are in an absolute panic. Everybody's in a panic. And the Russians are just tired of playing games. They said, we can bring a war to an end, but you have to accept battlefield reality. We prefer you accept it up front, but if you want us to prove it on the battlefield, we will. And that's what they're doing right now. And they're slaughtering the Ukrainians. It's just an absolute bloodbath. And the Russians aren't about to back down. It's tough for the American audience, because what's happening right now, Sabby, is there is a British-run information warfare operation taking place called Keep Ukraine in the Fight. I don't know if you've been looking at your X feed, or I don't know what social medias you're on, but have you seen that the domination of stories out there about how Ukraine is striking Russian oil targets and the sanctions, and Putin's in a panic, and you see the Telegraph, Putin's in a panic for this, all this, that, and the other thing? It's all fiction. Putin's not in a panic. There's never been a president more relaxed than Vladimir Putin right now. Are there problems for Russia? Sure. It's a war. But Russia's handling it. All this stuff. India and China have stopped buying Russian oil. The Russian economy is going to hell. Actually, the Indians are buying Russian oil, and the Chinese are buying Russian oil, and everybody's buying Russian oil. Is there going to be a little bit of a pinch? Yeah, but if you know something about the energy security economy, what happens when there's a pinch? Savvy? 2 + 2 = 4. The price of oil goes up. And so you create a situation where Russia can't sell as much oil. They drop a couple 100,000 barrels, but the price of oil goes up. So it's a wash. It doesn't impact the Russians at all. This is the reality. Europe's economy is collapsing as we speak. The German economy is an absolute free fall. France is a basket case. England, a joke. The Ukrainians can't survive without $120 billion of infusion of European and American taxpayer money. They have no functioning economy at all. And yet we're supposed to believe all the crap all the stuff out there about the imminent collapse of Russia. No, I just was in Russia. I just came back about a week ago. I'm here to tell you right now, it's a nation at war. People are dying. I need to be careful here, not to come off as too glib. Russians are dying. It's a hard-fought war. The economy isn't functioning. But again, I just want to point out to people, what's the growth rate of the American economy last year? 1.6%. 1.6%. You know what the growth rate of the Russian economy is under sanctions? 4%. Ooh. Guys,
Wow.
you understand that the Russian economy is growing at a rate twice as fast as the American economy? Now, the American economy is big and bigger, but the Russian economy is doing okay. Could it be better? Yeah, lift sanctions and watch it thrive. But the Russian economy has been fine-tuned over 4 years of sanctions. They know which way is up. People belittle the Russians. What was it John McCain liked to say? It's just a gas station with nuclear weapons. Well, gee, guys, who do you think understands the business of big gas stations better than a gas station? So when we're going to talk about global energy security in the energy markets, do you think maybe the Russians know the global energy market better than just about it? Ask the Saudis. Every time the Saudis tried to put a squeeze on the Russians, tried to take away market share, etc., Russia turned around and slapped them down. And it was always the Saudis that backed off. Want to know why? Because Russian oil is about the cheapest oil in the world to pull out of the ground. So when you have prices at $60 a barrel, and it costs the Russians $8 to pull it out of the ground, their profit margin's a little bit bigger. In the United States, where it costs us, $40 to pull out of the ground, even more, we're only making $20 a barrel. So our profit margins on it. The same thing with the Saudis. The Russians will always win, though. They can discount their oil more than anybody else. And at the end of the day, the world needs energy, and buying oil is expensive business. People will buy discounted oil, and Russia can discount their oil better than anybody out there. The Russians have Scott Bessent is an idiot, a straight up moronic idiot. And I know I've just insulted everybody who, never mind, it was a bad joke, but calling Scott an idiot is an insult to idiots. The man truly doesn't know what he's doing, but this is typical of Trump. He's surrounded himself with these sycophantic, billionaires whose sole focus is money, 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 and they don't care about reality. There are things happening. Look at Argentina.